Mirrors. You look into one every day, don't you? It's a simple action. You see your reflection, maybe adjust your hair, check for toothpaste on your face, and move on with your day. You think you know exactly what mirrors do. But what if I told you they reveal something far more profound? Something that challenges everything you think you know about reality and how you experience the world. Here's the thing. When you stand in front of a mirror, there's something odd that happens. You part your hair on the right, and the reflection shows it parted on the left. You raise your right hand, and your reflection raises its left hand. Left and right are reversed, but up and down remain unchanged. Why is that? It's a simple observation, but as soon as you start questioning it, things get weird. Why does the mirror switch left and right, but not up and down? What is it actually doing? Most people would just accept it as something mirrors do. But that's not an explanation. It's just describing what you see. And that's where our misunderstanding starts. You see, the real answer is far simpler than you might think. Mirrors don't reverse left and right at all. They reverse front and back. That's it. The light comes from in front of you, hits the mirror, and bounces back. The front of you remains the front in the mirror, but what was behind you is now shown behind the image too. It's a simple reversal along one axis, front and back. But here's the kicker. We mistake this for a left-right reversal because we're so accustomed to thinking of ourselves as a person facing another person. In fact, when you look at your reflection, your brain assumes someone is standing opposite you, having walked around to face you. But that's not what happens at all. Let's dig a bit deeper. Think about standing up and raising your right hand. Now look at your reflection. Your reflection mirrors the action. But wait, try this. Point your hand to the side. The reflection doesn't reverse that. The same happens with the direction you point your hand when sitting down or lying down. The mirror doesn't reverse the left-right axis. It simply reflects a front-back reversal. It's the perspective we impose on the mirror that makes it seem as if left-right is flipped. This mistake about mirrors is a perfect example of how we often misinterpret the world. Our understanding of the universe is based on our human experiences and intuitions. When you look at the mirror, your brain tries to interpret it in human terms, assuming someone has walked around to face you. But the mirror just bounces light back to you in a way that's consistent with how light behaves in space, not how humans expect it to. This shows how easily our intuition can mislead us, and this happens in all areas of physics. We project human experience onto nature, expecting it to behave according to our limited human scale. But physics doesn't care about human expectations. It follows its own rules, regardless of how we interpret them. The same can be said about fundamental concepts like up and down. We take gravity for granted. We say up is the sky and down is the ground. But on a spherical Earth, that's not the case. Up in New York is different from up in Australia. Up is simply away from the center of Earth, not a direction in space. Similarly, left and right aren't fundamental directions. They are labels we assign to objects with bilateral symmetry. Space itself doesn't have inherent left or right. It's something we impose based on human experience. The issue with mirrors isn't about what they're doing. It's about the way we perceive them. The mirror's reversal is not about flipping left and right. It's about flipping the front-back axis, and we misinterpret that because of the way our brain processes what we see. We confuse it with human-like behavior, which leads us to think the mirror is doing something peculiar when, in fact, it's just following the laws of physics. This confusion between human experience and physics happens everywhere. We start with human intuition, how things look and feel from a human perspective, and try to apply that to the larger world. But the universe doesn't care about our perspective. It operates on its own set of rules, and when we impose our human understanding on it, we get confused. The mirror teaches us a simple lesson. Our perception of reality is not always accurate. What seems obvious might not be the truth. This is why understanding physics is difficult. It's not just about memorizing formulas or solving problems. It's about learning to see past our own intuitions and understanding the true nature of the universe, even when it goes against everything we expect. So the next time you look in the mirror and something seems off, don't just accept it as normal. Ask yourself, what's actually happening here? Don't just rely on your human perspective. Look at the physics, strip away the assumptions, and understand the world for what it really is. When you can do that with mirrors, you'll start doing it with everything else. You'll start questioning your assumptions about heat, electricity, and even time itself. And that, my friends, is the first step toward real understanding. Physics isn't about fitting reality into human-made categories. It's about breaking free from those limitations and understanding the universe as it truly is, no matter how counterintuitive it may seem. Let's take a moment to think about mirrors. Every day, we stand in front of them. We see our reflection, check our appearance, and carry on. We think we understand exactly what they do. But what if I told you that mirrors reveal something far more profound about how we think? Something that could shake your entire perspective on reality? Here's the catch. When you stand in front of a mirror, something odd happens. You part your hair on the right, and in the reflection, it's parted on the left. You raise your right hand, and the reflection raises the left hand. Left and right are reversed. Simple, right? Now, look at your head or your feet. They're still in the same place, up and down remain consistent. So why does this happen? Why does the mirror reverse left and right, but leave up and down alone? That's a question that has stumped many of us, but I'm going to show you that it's not as simple as we think. You see, the real answer is far simpler. Mirrors don't actually reverse left and right. What they do is reverse front and back. Light comes from in front of you, hits the mirror, and bounces back, showing you the front of your body, but what was behind you is now behind the mirror image. That's all it is. The mirror simply reflects along the axis perpendicular to its surface. It's not flipping left to right, it's flipping front to back. But then, why does our brain interpret it as a left-right reversal? It's all about our perception, and that's where human psychology comes in. Let me give you another example. Think of standing and raising your hand to point at something. Now, look at the mirror. When you point at something to your right, the mirror shows your left hand. But when you try the same thing by rotating, not flipping, the word you hold on a piece of paper, you will see no reversal. This leads us to realize that the mirror, simply put, flips the front-back axis, but not the left-right or up-down axis. This misunderstanding is what trips us up and shows how we often apply our human perceptions to nature. We assume that the mirror's action is a reversal of direction, but in reality, it's a natural reflection of light in space. We confuse the process because we tend to think of it from our human experience. When we look at the reflection, we imagine the person as if they were facing us, which leads to the misinterpretation of left and right flipping. The real answer lies in the fact that the mirror doesn't reverse left and right. It just reverses the front and back. We, as humans, interpret this reversal based on our experiences of the world. The way we view things, our human-centered perspective, leads us to wrongly believe that left and right are reversed. It's the simple application of human intuition. Let's break this down further. Time and space aren't naturally divided into left and right. These concepts are just human constructs, labels we apply to our experience of the world. The mirror problem shows us how we take something neutral, like the reflection of light, and project our interpretations onto it. This is how human intuition often fails us in understanding the true mechanics of the universe. When we view objects, whether we're looking at our hand or the moon, we apply our human experience to interpret what we see. But when we try to apply this to atoms, light, or the universe itself, our models break down. The mirror shows us how this happens. It's not the mirror doing something strange, but us imposing our assumptions on it. The same principle applies to understanding physics. Concepts like up, down, and left are not fundamental to space. They are terms we've developed based on our human experiences. Up is away from the Earth's center, not a direction in space. Left and right only apply to objects that are oriented in a specific way. Space doesn't care about these distinctions. It's all about forces, energy, and the laws of motion, not our labels. This simple reflection mistake teaches us something critical about understanding reality. We often interpret nature through human experiences and assumptions, but nature doesn't follow our rules. It follows its own set of laws. And when we let go of our intuitions, when we stop trying to fit nature into our limited perceptions, that's when we truly start to understand how the universe works. The mirror, in all its simplicity, challenges our understanding. It forces us to question our assumptions and look beyond them. Once we see this, we can approach the universe, physics, and reality with a new perspective. This is what makes physics difficult, not because nature is weird, but because we're constantly battling our own limited perspectives. By letting go of our biases, we can start to ask questions that nature can answer. This is the first step in understanding the world beyond our senses, beyond our assumptions, and beyond our limited perspective. The mirror teaches us that. It teaches us that reality doesn't care about our expectations, and that we must learn to understand it on its terms, not ours. Let's keep exploring this fascinating idea. Once we start to peel back the layers of our assumptions, the real nature of reality begins to reveal itself. Now, think about how we understand anything. We look at an object, light bounces off it, travels through the air, and reaches our eyes. We interpret that as seeing. But here's the twist. We're not actually seeing the object itself. We're seeing light that's interacted with the object. This distinction is crucial. When you look at your hand directly, the light that bounces off it reaches your eyes. When you look at your hand in the mirror, the light bounces off your hand, hits the mirror, and then travels to your eyes. The only difference between the two is that extra bounce off the mirror. But because we're used to seeing things directly, we treat that direct view as real, and the mirrored view as a reflection, as though the mirror somehow distorts the reality. But in essence, they are both just reflections, patterns of light interacting with your eyes. It's just that one is direct, and the other has been reflected once more. Now, take a moment to think about this. Every piece of knowledge we gain about the world, from the simplest to the most complex, is filtered through some kind of interaction. Light bouncing off a surface, sound vibrating in the air, molecules reacting in your nose. You never truly interact with reality directly. You only have access to the effects of reality. When you touch something, you're not really touching it. You're feeling the electromagnetic repulsion between the atoms of your skin and the atoms of the object. That's the only thing you're experiencing. Your entire perception of reality is built from these interactions, and your brain constructs a model of what's real based on them. But here's the catch. Your brain is so good at creating this model, it convinces you that what you're seeing is the world as it actually is. The problem is, this model is based on your senses, which are limited. Your brain builds a perception of the world that is optimized for human survival, not for discovering universal truths. It's designed to make you function in a physical world, but it's not designed to understand the deep, fundamental workings of the universe. The mirror is a perfect example of this flaw in our perception. What happens when you look into a mirror? You see yourself, and immediately you recognize that reflection as you, right? But why do you see that reflection as real? It's just a pattern of light that your brain interprets as a self. This mirrors the way we process everything. When you see an object, you're not seeing it directly. You're seeing how it interacts with light. The mirror is just a more obvious example. It shows you a different interaction. Light bounces off an object, then reflects off a surface, and returns to you. But in both cases, whether you're seeing directly or through a reflection, you are experiencing the same thing, patterns of light. The only thing that differs is the route the light takes. This realization is profound because it forces you to confront the limitations of your senses and assumptions. You're not interacting with the world directly. You're interpreting the world through a web of light, sound, and forces. The mirror teaches us to question the reliability of our perceptions. It shows us that what we think we understand is just a model our brains have constructed. We might think we have direct access to reality, but in reality, we're always just interacting with representations of it. And this doesn't stop at mirrors or the objects around you. It applies to everything. Think about heat. When you touch something hot, you feel it burning your skin, but you're not actually feeling the heat. What you're feeling is the vibration of molecules, the chaotic motion of particles. Heat is just the energy of vibrating atoms, and you interpret that energy as a sensation of heat. But the heat you're feeling isn't a substance, it's a consequence of molecular motion. Similarly, when you look at electricity, it's easy to think of it as a fluid moving through wires, but it's actually an electromagnetic field moving through space. These are all examples of how we build models in our heads based on human experiences, not on a true understanding of the underlying physics. The mirror, in its simplicity, forces us to see this distinction. It reveals how we interpret the world and how easy it is to get trapped in assumptions about reality. When we look at a mirror, we assume the reflection is a separate reality. But it isn't. It's just another reflection of light, a pattern. And when we start to see the world in the same way, understanding that our senses are just interpreting light, sound, and electromagnetic interactions, we can begin to see past the illusions our brain creates. We start to understand that reality is much more complex and much more beautiful than we could have imagined. By challenging our perceptions and looking at the world through the lens of physics, we can start to unravel the mystery of existence. The mirror teaches us that nothing is quite what it seems, and by questioning what we think we know, we open up a deeper understanding of the universe. So the next time you stand in front of a mirror and think you understand what's happening, take a moment to reconsider. Look beyond the reflection and ask yourself, what is actually happening? Let's take a moment to really reflect. You probably look at a mirror every day, right? It's become such an automatic part of our routine that we don't think twice about it. You stand in front of it, maybe part your hair, or check your face. It feels like you understand what it does, shows your reflection. Simple, right? But is it really that simple? Imagine this. You're a Martian who's never seen a mirror before. You have no mouth, you absorb nutrients through your skin, and you're just observing us. You look through the bathroom window and see someone scrubbing foam in a hole in their head. The Martian might wonder, what is this ritual? What is the point of this foam and this strange stick? To the Martian, it would be a bizarre alien activity that makes no sense. And here's the thing. We've gotten so used to the world around us that we stop questioning it. We think we see the world for what it is, but we're often blind to how strange it truly is. Our minds are so automatic that we accept what we see without understanding the physics behind it. Take the simple act of sitting in a chair. Do you really understand why you feel weight? You think it's gravity, but you don't realize it's actually an electromagnetic force between the atoms in your body and those in the chair. It's not gravity pulling you down. It's the chair pushing up against you. That's just one example of how our intuition often fails us. If we dive deeper into physics, we realize that many of the assumptions we make are completely wrong. We rely on intuition, which can't always explain the workings of the universe. To get a clearer understanding, let's go back in time to Galileo and Newton, two pioneers who started challenging conventional thinking. Galileo, for example, observed that falling objects don't fall at a constant speed, they accelerate. Newton, on the other hand, united the heavens and the earth with one brilliant idea: gravity. He discovered that the same force pulling an apple to the ground was keeping the moon in orbit. But there's a catch. How does gravity work across space? There's no string, no rubber band between the earth and the moon. How does one massive rock affect another across empty space? Newton didn't know, and this mystery remained for centuries. Enter Michael Faraday. Faraday noticed that magnets could influence wires without any direct contact. He imagined that the space between them wasn't empty. It was filled with invisible lines of force. These lines transmit energy, causing things to interact without contact. This brings us to the speed of light and its limitations. The speed of light isn't just about light, it's about the speed of causality. If light traveled instantly, we'd have time paradoxes. Causes could happen after effects, disrupting everything. Light has a speed limit because it's the fastest way energy can travel through space-time. This concept is crucial to understanding how the universe works. Now let's talk about time. You think time is universal, right? But if you're moving, Time behaves differently for you than it does for someone standing still. Imagine space-time as a giant sausage, with everything that has happened, is happening, or will happen, existing inside it. Depending on how fast you move, your now slice of space-time will look different than someone else's. This means time isn't a fixed, universal progression. It's personal and tied to your movement through space. This idea seems crazy, doesn't it? It challenges everything we think we know about the world. But that's where science comes in. It forces us to look beyond our human intuition. And here's the twist. The reason we think time and space behave the way they do is because of the assumptions we've built based on our human perspective. We think in terms of left and right, up and down. But these aren't fundamental properties of the universe. They're based on our orientation as human beings. For example, up and down are defined by gravity, not space itself. In fact, up is simply away from the center of the Earth. Left and right, on the other hand, are arbitrary and don't exist in space. They're just labels we apply to objects with certain orientations. This is the mistake we make when we try to apply human labels to nature. Nature doesn't care about left and right. It cares about real physical directions. Forward, backward, up, down, defined by actual forces and fields. This mirrors how we misunderstand many things. We project our human-centered thinking onto complex phenomena, like atoms, light, and even the universe itself. But the universe doesn't operate on our assumptions. It doesn't care about our perspectives, our labels, or our convenience. When we start to see things as they are, through physics and experimentation, we begin to understand nature's true nature. The mirror, in all its simplicity, shows us that the world isn't as straightforward as it seems. The mirror doesn't flip left and right, it flips front and back. The confusion we feel comes from projecting our human experiences onto something that's fundamentally different. So why does this matter? It matters because it shows how much we rely on human intuition and how it can fail us. To truly understand the universe, we must look beyond our assumptions, question what we think we know, and embrace the world's complexity. The mirror doesn't just reflect light, it reflects our limitations. It teaches us that nature isn't bound by the rules we impose. Instead, it operates on its own set of laws, which we can only uncover through patience, observation, and a willingness to let go of preconceived notions. If you can learn to challenge your assumptions, to question your intuition, and explore the deeper workings of nature, you'll begin to truly understand how the world works. And once you understand that, you can look at everything around you in a completely new way. From atoms to the cosmos, nothing will ever seem the same again.